Okay, here we are in the top left-hand corner of the map, on top of the red Protoss player. Give it up for Team MYI's PtitDrogo. The French Protoss facing off versus the bottom right-hand player, the Polish Zerg player in teal, representing Team True Esports. Give it up for Elazer. And a big thank you to JD Toss in the chat saying, hey, Fear Dragon, Elazer and Drogo are actually practice partners. So did not know that. I'm not gonna lie, the European scene not exactly where my specialty is, especially since Fear. Sorry, I was about to say Fear Dragon. Rifkin and Zamagrub asked, you know, hey Fear Dragon, do you want to join in, finish up the North American qualifiers? I was like, North American qualifiers? Yeah, I know the North American players. I got this. Like, I'm feeling good about this. And then I come in, it's like 60%, 75% European players. I'm like, oh, well then. So I do appreciate it. That's really interesting, and that's definitely going to color, I think, this series in a very different light, where these guys may be more familiar with some of their tendencies. And that's actually one of the reasons why a lot of players will say, like, oh, you know, I don't really have a good practice partner. A surprising number of people out there do not practice very much with other players outside of the ladder, because they say, well, I'm basically competing with my competition, or I'm practicing with my competition, I'm showing off my builds and stuff, and we hit each other so often. The scene is, in a sense, not like in a dead game sense, but just in the sense of, like, if you're playing with a good player, you're going to be hitting them because you both make it pretty far into the brackets. So, sort of interesting. These players are going to definitely be feeling a little bit of those mind games possibly coming in. We have a faster Twilight Council coming out for PtitDrogo. Might be going for a quick Resonating Glaives build, which is a bit different than any of the builds that he showed off versus Violet, I think it was. I hope I'm not totally mixing up series in my head right now. No, what am I talking about? I don't think he faced off versus... I need to actually check this in the bracket right now. I am going absolutely mad. No, Violet is on the other side of the bracket. Versus Bly. It was versus Bly. And I didn't even have the long day. Rifkin and Zamagrub had the long day. But this is definitely a bit of a variation to what he did versus Bly. Now, granted, Bly also, you have to remember, picked Dasan Station for game number 1 and went for a proxy catch. Won game number 2 on Frozen Temple and went for a proxy catch. So I don't really know that PtitDrogo had an opportunity to go for a normal build. But still, we're going to be seeing a lot of that Resonating Glaive Adept play coming out. Elazer throwing down a nice and early Roach Warren after the 3rd expansion is going to be getting ready to deal with this. And I really do honestly prefer the Roach Warren response over the Baneling response. I think the Baneling response, yeah, it's sort of nice in the sense that you can do Baneling drops and everything. And yes, you can clean up a lot of those Adepts very quickly if you get the Banelings in the right hits. But Protoss players have just learned, oh, I just have to play better. I just have to split up my Adepts with my Shades. So I don't actually have time with my Adepts. As I send my Shades out, I realize, oh, I'm sending it. Let me put one Adept over here. Let me put one Shade over here, one Shade over here. Get another Shade over here, just kind of split them around, and then you just don't get either surface area for the Zerglings, nor do you get any kind of big hits off with your Banelings, because they're all clumped up. PtitDrogo only sitting on 3 Warp Gates, so it's not a big all-in, but he also doesn't have a Roboxility coming down until just now, so I feel like this is probably going to be, yeah, Adepts moving out across the map, trying to get some nice damage done early on, and going to be leading this into Observer, War Prism, Immortal, follow-ups. A couple of the Roaches are already popping out, but the Adepts do make their way into the natural expansion. Should be able to focus fire down a couple of these workers, but instead going after a lot of the Roaches, so not going to be getting the optimal amount of worker damage, but still 8 workers already killed so far. Handful of these Adepts still alive and killing off even more. Nice focus fire coming down on this set of drones. And even going to be able to get out of here with 3 more of these Adepts, it seems like. Yeah, they might be able to get all the way home. 13 workers killed, putting him at a nice 6 worker advantage. Soon to be pretty dead even, if not Elazer being slightly further ahead. But still, the worker damage was definitely done. And PtitDrogo is going to be feeling very good about this because he took a 3rd behind this. He gets up his Robo, gets up his Immortal. And I'm not sure that Elazer can really safely do this move out across the map. He's going to end up taking quite a few losses, and yeah, it seems like he is probably going to retreat back. The Adepts do not finish the Shade. I thought for a moment he's going to just try and trap these Roaches and Ravagers in, kind of calling Elazer's bluff, saying, you don't have any reinforcements coming out behind this. You're probably making drones behind this. catch the roaches and ravagers from behind, and just use Fudge and overcharges to prevent them from moving forward. But not gonna end up doing that. Overseer's made and getting ready to maybe get some more scouting information off on PtitDrogo, who really doesn't have many stalkers out, but oh boy, the adept harassment just never ends. 3 adepts do finish their shades on over to the 3rd expansion. Awkwardly enough, natural, or the rest of the adepts do not finish their shade over the natural. So 7 workers already going down, and it seems like 3 of them are going to be able to finish over in the main base. Not quite getting the perfect angle as the queen does block off some of the choke points, but 13 workers, 14 workers. We're probably going to end up seeing 16 to 18 workers end up getting killed off. Adept even finishes up. Oh, nice spore crawler. But it's kind of like that moment where it's like you're a basketball team down 70 points, and then you block one of their shots like, yeah, got him! Nice play. Got a slam dunk off. Boom. We're going to catch up eventually. Losing so many workers really does hurt. And it's not, again, necessarily the fact that he's down a significant number of workers, but he's lost 30 workers. And yeah, a lot of adepts were lost, 14 adepts. So 14 adepts for 30 workers this early on in the game. Elazer has been stuck on roaches and ravagers. He's finally getting up a lurker den, and starting up some of those hydralisks. So yeah, there's still definitely room for a comeback. I am not here to exaggerate and say, like, it's like Elazer's down, you know, 60 points in a basketball game. But it definitely feels like he's down 20 to 30 points. It's a pretty substantial loss right now for Elazer. Just because PtitDrogo's been able to get up his upgrades, he's getting out his immortals, getting up his gateways, and with charge finishing up, I think that he may be able to do a really scary push out. He's got up a scary enough army that he could hit right around the time that these lurkers are going to be popping, and when the lurkers are still in fairly low numbers, he could do a substantial amount of damage. 1 lurker is being made right now, but you can see he didn't really have the economy until, I guess, more recently to actually start making a few more of these lurkers. The question is PtitDrogo going to be making the push out? Getting a few Archons in the mix, charges now finishing up. The Warp Prism is the big signal, as a lot of pros players like to make that Warp Prism last. Just make sure it doesn't get picked off, it seems like. And also just to get out as many units as possible, because the Warp Prism can fly its way across all this terrain and reinforce with the army a little bit quicker. A lot of the lurkers are finishing up over here, though. So Elazer not sitting as bad of a position as he was before. The supply inefficient roaches do sort of skew the supply a little bit, but +2 weapons going to be finishing up in the midst of this attack as long as PtitDrogo doesn't just die instantly. Or I should say, if Elazer also doesn't die instantly. Charge Zealots, oh, getting a charge off, but not able to complete it as he sees all those lurkers over there. He does have an observer in the mix, but the overseer is there, as well as a couple of hydros. Got to be very careful. That observer does not want to end up losing it, since it is his only observer as far as I'm aware. Yep. Versus these lurkers, not really getting the best engagement over here. He is going to be able to continue to push on forward. Now Archon's getting on top of the lurkers. This is a better fight over here for PtitDrogo, but he loses all of his front line. The Warp Prism in the back line is also very low on health. Doesn't actually get that many warpins. He doesn't warp in Zealots either. He warps in Archons, which I can kind of understand. The Zealots were just dying so quickly to the lurkers. But are the Archons going to be able to get on top of this army fast enough? This engagement is not going so well for PtitDrogo, and he's definitely falling way far behind in supply, and it's not exactly an inflated roach supply anymore. Now the upgrade advantage is still going well in favor of PtitDrogo with +2 weapons versus just +1 weapons. +1 armor, or sorry, melee attacks is also on the way, very interestingly for Elazer. I feel like every Zerg player out there decides to do their upgrades slightly differently than every other Zerg player, or than most other Zerg players. There's so many different ways. You can go for some of your range upgrades and then go for melee upgrades. You can go for just straight up range upgrades and ignore melee entirely. I've seen players go for melee and ignore range. Every single combination. But the lurker is going to be putting on small little bits of pressure from a nice range on that one single assimilator. Not actually doing any damage to the workers or anything. But it's the small denial of the mining pretty soon, as more lurkers start to burrow further forward. PtitDrogo still trying to get as many units up as possible before he engages into this. Doesn't have any disruptors coming out either, and there's no robotics bay out. I'm a bit surprised. I feel like PtitDrogo, by not teching up, he's really forcing himself into a big engagement that he has to win right here, right now. We does end up having the Observer. He does end up picking off some of these lurkers, but he gets obliterated with the most majority of his army. A Warpin of Zealous? Yeah, what's that gonna do versus this army? PtitDrogo loses so much. He's sitting down 70 supply, and I think this is more than enough. Finally, his winning streak comes to an end as Elazer takes him out and takes first game. PtitDrogo losing his first game ever since he got knocked down to the losers bracket by who was it? By Elazer. That was a match that happened earlier on the BaseTradeTV stream. It was actually the first match I got to see. No, I think my first match was Violet versus Elazer. That was the first match I solo casted. All right. But that does lead us to game number 2, where we wait for the invite from PtitDrogo. And I was like, as much as I always appreciate and trust the players to invite me and everything, it's always nice to just be safe. Play it on the safe side, make sure they don't just start the game without me. PtitDrogo has been fantastic. Any chance we could do WCS lobby? Super not a big deal. Just nice to have. Alright, I'm gonna make a very, very light petition for a WCS lobby. Cool. Oh yes, PtitDrogo's awesome. They're gonna remake the lobby with a WCS mod. Yes. Love these guys. Especially because they've been up for such a long time. I am just blown away. I know Thermal also had a really sad tweet. Made me get the feels where he was saying the feeling when you play in a qualifiers from 4 p.m. to 7 a.m. So that's 17 hours. No, math on stream. 15 hours of a qualifier, and then you have to set your alarm for the next cup after losing 2-0 to a warp prism. Feels bad, man. All right, next game is getting set up. Galactic Process is the next map. PtitDrogo actually asking for 2 minutes, so we maybe hop into a short little break just because we're literally got nothing else to do for 2 minutes. So we'll be back in just a bit with game number 2 between these two players. Please do not go anywhere. Should be exciting. Holy shit. I've been muted for 7 minutes. 8 minutes. Okay, I found the mute button. Hi guys. See you in 3 minutes. Oh geez, I'm so sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here we go. We're spawning in this game. 8 minutes in. Oh man, I was doing so well with the production up until now too. Man, I was even getting Skype messages and everything. I was just super into this game. All right, but here we go. One thing I was talking about that I really want to emphasize is the fact that PtitDrogo was very resilient in that last game to go up to Disruptor Tech or get up High Templars for Storm. He does not have Storm on these High Templars. He doesn't have any form of that AoE, so he's really relying on taking a good engagement. So it's really important that he does so because once again, he's doing something similar. He's going for double Warp Prism, which I really like. It's really useful if he loses one Warp Prism, but also, of course, nice because he can have one with his army and one for harassment. Here we go, though. Rock's gonna get knocked down very, very quickly over here for Elazer. The Lurker is also knocking them down, but does Elazer even realize that there's no third expansion over here? He should know this. I guess it's just nice for potentially taking out a fourth. One Lurker over the top side, trying to take out a Photon Cannon. It looks like it's going to be able to get it and should knock out the detection. Yeah, no detection up there now. Elazer has to be so careful about this. Force fields at the low ground could cut those guys off and could just go after those Lurkers on the high ground, but looks like he's going to be the one caught going down the ramp, not taking the best engagement. These Lurkers are getting the engagement of their life. He couldn't ask for a better engagement. Now, he's losing a lot of his Roaches and Zerglings on the front line, but look at how much damage he's doing. Look at how many losses PtitDrogo has taken. So many of the Immortals have already ended up falling, and PtitDrogo has fallen down 40 supply behind Elazer. And that's almost all in army supply. Now, Elazer still has to do something with that supply. And these photon overcharges are making it difficult. He doesn't have a lot of reinforcements coming in very quickly. Feedback goes down on the Overseer, so suddenly that Observer is going to be much safer. That's a huge sigh of relief, I think, for PtitDrogo. Loses the Warp Prism, which is pretty annoying. Still has another Warp Prism on the other side of the map, ready to warp in. DT's coming in. Oh, no, the Overseer gets sniped off. Had a secondary effect, and all of these Lurkers are going to go down. And as difficult as it was for PtitDrogo to lose every single one of those Immortals, or nearly every single one of those Immortals, he did manage to kill off all of those Lurkers. That is a win. I don't know if it's enough of a win. Elazer still holds a very solid position in this game. And PtitDrogo still has some of those DTs he warped in. He can make some Archons. He still has Charred Zealots. Make an Archon from a High Templar and Dark Templar. This is clearly done after Brood War. The High Templars and the Dark Templars have forged an alliance together, but will it be enough? Will the power of the Dark Archon and the Light Archon? No, that's not right. Will the power of the Dark Templar and the High Templar be enough? I just don't think so. Unless Elazer takes a really bad engagement, or this Warp Prism harassment really starts working out. This DT already getting 7 worker kills, doing a pretty nice job, trying to go after the Queen now to shut down that anti-air, but looks like the DT does get shut down. Another attack over here. Looks like that also ends up falling. 7 workers killed, though. That's really not enough. That's not nearly enough. PtitDrogo's buying himself time, though. That's the most important thing. Warping in a lot of Zealots and more Archons. I don't know how much I like this decision, though. I like it in some sense, that in the idea that he needs to get out an army, and these are units he can warp in very quickly and replenish supply very quickly with. But this is basically a Cloud Kingdom remake in a lot of ways in terms of layout. It's got a lot of choke points. It's going to be so difficult to get a nice wide arc where all of these Archons and all of the Zealots are all participating in the fight and not just walking in to this giant limbo line to the Lurkers. In fact, this is a beautiful spot right here. Elazer realizes it. He says, I'm going to burrow some Lurkers over here. Can probably warp in a couple of more Lurkers, knock down the rocks to make sure I don't just get force fielded out, but is this still going to be a nice area? Because he can almost siege these up like siege tanks. Slowly, yeah, moving a couple forward, sieging them up once again, and then burrowing the next set forward. Here we go, though. Here's the big engagement. Zealots get absolutely obliterated. Now it's the Archons that are taking the damage. Is it going to be enough? Immortals on the back line. It seems like it's doing a lot more, but the Archons are all gone now. The Hydros and the Lurkers are still alive, and Elazer pushes on forward. He's not leading up as much supply as he was after the last series of engagements, and at the same time, there there is a nice bit of Zealot harassment coming in at the bottom right-hand side. Elazer going to have to pull back after losing a couple of workers, rallying in some more of those reinforcements. It's +2 versus +2, but those Zealots are the ones that benefit when Zerglings on the defense, as they do end up two-shotting those Zerglings. No Carapace upgrades researched just yet. And I would say the biggest thing is that PtitDrogo defends the gold expansion. It is 4 base versus 4 base, and with a gold expansion, PtitDrogo has a slightly better economy. Now, that economy is not going to be lasting for forever, and this is a nice wide open area. Yeah, sure, Elazer's sieged up with these lurkers right now, but a nice warp-in of Zealots? If he spreads them out, this is a lot of area to work with on this map. That's exactly what he's going to be going for, warping as many Zealots as he can. More lurkers being made, Photon Overcharge preemptively being popped. He knows how important this expansion is. Ooh, nice position over here. Elazer, if he gets down to the low ground with the Hydros, can take out a Robox and can even shut down some of the mining, I think. Oh, can take out the Mudgercore. Photon Overcharge already gets used, though, so should be able to push back some of these Hydros. I still think that 1 or 2 Hydros just over there on the low ground could do a lot. Looks like a bit of more harassment happening on this side of the map, but here we go, the big engagement, and this is gonna be very, very one-sided. Elazer taking a storming lead and also cleaning up the harassment on the other side of the map. The drone's getting back to mining because they know he just needs to make as many units as possible, and I think he's gonna be able to overwhelm PtitDrogo, leading up 40 supply, and this time, the army is down to just 6. That might be too much to come back from. The 4th expansion gets taken out, and GG gets called. PtitDrogo tapping out. Elazer gonna be moving on to day 2 of the WCS Copa Intercontinental North American qualifiers. Big congratulations goes to Elazer, and in a sense, really good run and you know, nicely played by PtitDrogo to get to this point. But at least they can go to sleep. At least both of them can go to sleep. So, big thank you to them. We're gonna go ahead and hop to a short little break while I hop over to the North American server, figure out what's going on over there, figure out what the details are, because otherwise, honestly, even though I could just like not run an ad break, you're literally just gonna watch me sitting here, dumbfounded, open mouth probably, looking super duper attractive, trying to read messages and catch up and message people and be like, what's going on? What's happening? So we're gonna cut to a short little break. We'll see you guys in just a little bit with the final couple of series happening on the other side of the map to find out who's gonna be facing off versus Elazer in day number 2.